Oh, you good?
Alex Golesh, John Summerall. Who got the better of the coaching swap? Was it Florida or was it Auburn? Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Rapport. I'm your host, Mike G. Turn us on, turn us up. We'll turn it out. I'm here with my good friend Taylor Davis, sideline reporter for ESPN, to talk a little Auburn football here on a Wednesday morning. And Taylor, woo, we had an Alex Golesh press conference, introductory press conference.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is my third introductory press conference for an Auburn head coach.
Wow.
This was the best.
Really?
Yeah. I think this was the best of them. And let me tell you something. It was more of an event than Hugh Freeze's. They did it in the recruiting center at the stadium.
Yeah.
I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, there was a lot more media there. And there were some things that went on here that I want to talk about today about how Auburn ended up with Alex Golesh. You had some strong feelings in this coaching search, and you and I have talked both publicly and privately about, what direction does Auburn need to go? I believe you liked John Summerall. You liked him as a coach, right? Love John Summerall. He's at Florida. Golesh is at Auburn. Let's start with Summerall.
Okay.
If you love John Summerall, then you believe that Florida got a good one, here. The question is, did Auburn fumble the bag on Summerall? I've talked to some sources, both externally and within the program, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of different narratives flying out there about like what happened. I reported that essentially he started buying a lot of the negative stuff that you hear about Auburn, about plants within the program and people monitoring you on behalf of the president and all kinds of stuff. Now, I like Summerall, but if he is buying those kinds of things, then I got to tell you, I'm probably pretty happy that Auburn ended up with Alex Golesh.
This whole situation has been very complicated. And I think that a lot of things can be true at the same time. And I'm a very big fan of John Summerall. I do think that Florida got a good one. I think he's going to be successful. I think Auburn absolutely crushed. And I think Alex Golesh is going to be phenomenal. All of those things can be true. The way in which it transpired, I think, has flaws. And I would not say that Auburn executed this search perfectly. Okay. I do not know the details. I'm not going to pretend to know the details. But I have heard far too much to not believe that something went south in the 11th hour with John Summerall, and whether or not it was more on his end or Auburn's. I wasn't in that conversation. I don't know. But all signs were pointing to it was very close to being a done deal with John Summerall toward the end. And for whatever reason and whatever negativity that crept into the process, it fell through in the last minute. I think a lot of people Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday morning, if they woke up super early, thought that DJ Durkin was going to be promoted. I think the Alex Golesh element, while he's been on my list, and I totally think he should have been on Auburn's, I did not think it was being considered. I did not think it was on the radar in the 11th hour. I thought it was Summerall, and when it was no longer, I thought they were going to stay in-house. When I heard the announcement, though, I was pumped. I have covered Alex Golesh many times. I can't say enough good things about him. As a person, as a head coach, as a CEO of a program, he's involved in everything, and relationships matter to him. He fits Auburn. I fully believe that Auburn got the right guy. The way in which it happened, not ideal. And I do think that it was a continuation of the potential truth that there are maybe a lot of cooks in the kitchen at Auburn, and there are a lot of people involved in decision making. And when you've got too many, it can create an increased chance of friction. And I think that some of that presented itself yet again. And to the point that the night before you hire Alex Golesh himself said he accepted the job at 1 a.m. This was a very last minute kind of thing. With that said, I think he's the right guy, and I think he's going to be successful. I would say that I don't love some of the sloppiness associated with the search from a private understanding as well as public perception. But at the end of the day, we got a guy that can win at Auburn, and I think that's everyone's priority.
Taylor, there were some that believed that DJ Durkin actually went to bed Saturday night believing that he was going to wake up the next morning as Auburn's head coach. To your point about maybe how some of this was handled wasn't the greatest. And, I was told that by some people that I would know,
Same.
right? And so the question about whether he is going to stay or go was asked on Monday at the press conference. Might come down to whether he wants to stay after how this was handled. Because he certainly will find a job on the open market as a defensive coordinator elsewhere and probably at a big time program. I
Yes.
I just can't say enough about the job that he did, and I know he only won one of the last two, but in the two he lost, those kids played really, really hard for him. I think
Mhm.
it's unfair maybe to expect him to fix 2.5 years worth of dysfunction in 3 games.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed for DJ Durkin in all this.
I listen, I think that Auburn needed to hire a head coach. I just felt like what we've seen, and I do understand if Durkin was promoted to head coach, the processes would have been much more in place to allow him to thrive more than what this sample size allowed for. He would have hired a defensive coordinator. The processes in game would have been ironed out a little bit. This was basically just like all hands on deck to get us through the end of season. So I don't think it's an accurate representation of what it would be, but I
Mhm.
do think that it pulled him away a little bit from what he is excellent at. And what a shame if you have to kind of scale back on what you absolutely excel at because you now have to wear so many hats. I don't think it would have been the best situation. However, if that was ever misrepresented to him, shame on the process because he has done far too much for that program, for those players, and
Mhm.
meant so much to this place to be misled in any sort of way or for any communication that involved DJ Durkin's future to have been done in a flippant manner is unacceptable. And so if that happened, absolutely shame on the process. I do think ultimately Durkin being a one of, if not the highest paid coordinator in the country to stay at Auburn and bringing in a head coach that can be CEO role
Yep.
is the best formula. That is what I believed. But the way in which that was done mattered. It's the same way we're all talking about Lane Kiffin. I agree that Lane Kiffin at LSU makes a lot of sense. He's going to win in Baton Rouge. But the way the process happened, the way the decision was made was shady and slimy. And so it clouds the perception of the true decision. Do I think not promoting DJ, especially after the result of the Iron Bowl, was the right decision? Yes. But was it gone about the right way? Absolutely not. And I don't think that's fair to a guy like him. With that said, I think we have gold if Alex Golesh can retain DJ Durkin. If the two of them, I actually think
Ooh.
that partnership will be better than a Summerall Durkin partnership. I think that Alex Golesh and DJ Durkin together, Auburn is in business. Okay. It's just, does DJ Durkin feel slighted at this point? And is it going to get in the way of where he ultimately wants to be? Because I know if he stays, it is out of genuine love for those guys in that locker room and for
Yeah.
this place.
That well said. I trust where trust is absent, relationships are completely destroyed.
Facts.
So, the question is, if you're DJ Durkin, do you trust Auburn after how this was handled? And now, certainly, he was at least on some level willing to accept a secondary role. He
Yeah.
he came here under that idea, right? That
Right.
he would work under Hugh Freeze, and then he accepted a raise to stay. And he was happy to be defensive coordinator here. And I would love to talk to him to see how much the math changed for him once he got a little taste of being able to run it his way.
Sure.
And the idea of maybe being given a whole off season to revamp the culture and again do things his way.
Yeah.
But it's like you give somebody a taste of that promotion and they get that first check. It's hard to send them back to make it less,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm with you on this one. I think that there are some things that could have been handled maybe better. But there was a lot of talking and a lot of this, agents are trying to get their clients the best job. And so there are all these narratives flying around that maybe aren't even coming from Auburn, right?
Sure.
All right. So there are some things where I'm willing to give the university a reprieve on. Ultimately, John Cohen got a second chance to hire a head football coach at Auburn. He will not get a third. So Golesh
Uh-huh.
better do the job here. You
No
know, I
pressure.
there were a number of quotes from his press conference, opening press conference.
Okay.
And I want to repeat some of the things that he said. He said, we're going to be explosive on offense. We're going to play really fast. We're going to run the freaking ball. He also said, we're going to be the most violent freaking team. He likes the word freaking. The most violent freaking team on the football field every Saturday. I like violence in football.
Yes.
He says, we're in a race against ourselves to give this elite fan base what it deserves and to do it as fast as we can. No patience from Alex Golesh. He also says, if you're any sort of competitor, the hair on your arm stands up thinking about the Iron Bowl. That's what you live for. I wonder if he knows until you experience it. I saw the video of him and Baron Golesh walking into the stadium. And that feeling when you walk out of that tunnel is something that most people will never understand. Even just as a media guy, I did it as a student video worker when I was in college there. It's just something about walking out of that tunnel, man, is different. And then he says, I will give this fan base, the alumni, the former players, and everybody involved with this university every single bit of everything I've got. I said, before we get to the break, I do want to talk about, who he is. Because, again, you covered him. So you're in a unique position to comment on this.
Yep.
Part of what I thought was missing with Hugh Freeze was it feels to me that he lost that passion, that obsession that you have to have with football. Taylor, I can tell you from working with you the last few months, you're one of the best at what you do. Be the best at what you do, you have to be somewhat obsessed with it. You have to be willing. As we're recording this, you just did a recording. You came to me, you're going to go do another recording. I'm going to go do another recording. Most people will not understand the time that we put into what we do because we want to be the best at it.
Totally.
You have to be obsessed to a point that people will think you're crazy. Right? And I don't think that Hugh Freeze had that. I think he lost that.
Yes.
I think Alex Golesh maybe has that still.
Yes.
I think even more importantly, he's had success recent enough to be relative to what college football is today. What do you think about Alex Golesh's obsession with getting Auburn, in his words, giving the fan base, the former players, and everybody involved with the university every single bit of everything he has?
I believe it 10 toes down. I have seen it firsthand at a program like South Florida that had way more of an uphill climb than what he's inheriting at Auburn. Okay. He is a big part of their new on-campus stadium that is being built right now. NIL, they have been one of the, wealthiest in NIL in the American. He really beefed that up. They recruited size. They recruited speed. I mean, covering South Florida, looking at some of their guys on the sideline, I'm like, these are Power 4 players. And they have opted to come to Tampa because of Alex Golesh. Like, make no mistake about it. I tweeted the other day, and this is going to be a conversation that's sensitive around Auburn, but it's going to be relevant. And that's the quarterback. But Byron Brown is a freak of an athlete. And I asked him this season, with all due respect to South Florida, why are you still here? Because I know Power 4 programs have called. And he said Alex Golesh. And Alex Golesh is a player guy. He sees the big picture. He is business minded, but he is like a dog with a freaking bone when it comes to football. I mean, he is just a ball coach, but he doesn't flub on any of the other elements that play in to your success on the field, which includes relationship building and recruiting, facilities, and NIL. He's got his hand in all of it. And if he was able to do that at South Florida and in the American, I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to be impactful when it comes to Auburn. And everything that I have ever heard talked to him about starts with discipline and work ethic. It is not, he didn't take that press conference and go, ooh, these people love their creed. Let me find a way to work that in. No. I've talked to the man for 2 years at a program that wasn't in the creed. That wasn't a part of their bylaws or whatever. And he starts with discipline and work ethic. Like, that is how, and you hear his story, his parents coming over from Russia and escaping that life. Like, it is it is his makeup. It is his wiring. That's all he's ever known. And so that's exactly what you're going to get at Auburn. It's exactly what Auburn thrives with, that blue collar, that work ethic. I loved what he said in the press conference, Mike. My colleague Kelly and I were texting about it. It really stood out when he started talking about the fourth quarter and finishing games, because
best quote.
that was one of the best quotes of the entire thing, because that has been Auburn's Achilles heel. And I have said all season, this team is not mentally sound. This team is not mentally tough. And he said finishing is a mentality. Like, the fourth quarter is a discipline that you drill every single day. And I have heard him say that prior to inheriting a program where that's a relevant conversation. So it's not fodder to win over a press conference. All of these things are who this man is. And it directly translates to the culture of an Auburn program. I think it's a home run.
The quote exactly was, you have to train it. We're going to train the fourth quarter. Part of what you do starting the very first second that we start in January with our guys, it starts with winter workouts into spring, certainly into summer. You train discipline daily to be able to finish in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
A former director of football operations told me it this way. He said it's 1,000 hours of work in January to July for 40 hours of football in the fall.
Yep.
And that's it. That's what you get. You get 40 hours to make your mark on history every single year. And it takes 1,000 hours to get there. Look, we're going to get to the break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Alex Golesh, Auburn's 33rd head football coach, and get more of Taylor's thoughts on whether he's the right guy for the job and how he's going to get it done. This episode of the War Rapport is brought to you by friends at Abel's Iron Moore and Associates. Taylor, most firms won't even talk to you unless you have a certain amount to invest, but Abel's Iron Moore and Associates takes a different approach. There's no minimum, and you can get a complimentary review of your portfolio or retirement plan before you ever become a client. Why no minimums? Because AMA doesn't measure relationships by how profitable they are. Many clients don't even meet minimum requirements at other firms, and they're the exact people that need the most guidance, and AMA is committed to making a difference for each of their relationships. It's about honest fiduciary guidance from a team that's been serving clients for more than 20 years. Call AMA at 912-777-4128. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit AIMAINC.com. Advice built for real life, not just the wealthy. The War Rapport has been compensated by Abel's Iron Moore and Associates for this endorsement. Abel's Iron Moore and Associates is a SEC registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code RAPPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop potentially has something that has you covered. If you've got some traditional ailments that could require some non-traditional remedies, well, the Rogue Shop could be the place for you. Our guy Richard is a longtime sponsor of the show, dropping a little something extra in there for everybody using code RAPPORT today. Please go over there and see them. Code Rapport, the Rogue Shop. I want to thank our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. That's on Highway 431, right across the street from Chattahoochee Valley Community College, next to the Renfro Supermarket and the Marcos Pizza. The Vibe Vault, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank our friends at Sky Tobacco and Vape. If you've ever run out of vape juice and realize you're nowhere near your favorite spot, that's not a problem. Sky Tobacco and Vape's got locations all over Columbus and even across the bridge in Phoenix City, like they planned it that way just for you. Whether you're on the move or just vibing, they've got everything you need. Vapes, tobaccos, and deals so good, you'll do a double take. Sky Tobacco and Vape, great deals, great prices, and no judgment if you walk in at 10 p.m. wearing your pajama pants. Let's jump back in here. As I mentioned, lots of great quotes from that press conference. There's another one that I want to talk about because I want to end this segment talking about how he's going to run his program. Beside the fourth quarter quote, one of my favorite things he said was, we're going to be a process-driven program. We're going to wake up and worry about winning every single aspect of our lives every single day. This is the obsession that I'm talking about, man, that you have to have if you want to be the best at something. You have to train it. You have to live it. You have to think about nothing else but being the best every single day. And it infects everything you do. And if you're an athlete, that means how you sleep, how you eat, every rep you put in the weight room. You show up on time. You show up early to things. And you are the leader that your teammates look for when they're looking for an example of how to finish.
Yeah.
That starts at the top. If Auburn has that in its head coach, you will see that in the players. Look, recruiting is important. But
Yeah.
5 stars still need development, and they still need that example set for them. I think Hugh Freeze maybe fell into the trap of thinking he could out-recruit the lack of development that this program had the last 2.5 years. If you can put those two things together, high-level recruiting and high-level development, you get Nick Saban.
Yeah.
You get Alabama since 2008,
Yeah.
right? And that's what Auburn is looking for.
No, I totally agree with you. I think that there is still such a trickle down from what they see in their head coach and how he goes about his business. How am I going to be, preached to about how I approach the day when you approach yours kind of sluggishly? Like there is an element of leadership that still is intact even in the ever-changing landscape of college football. And one thing that I point to, obviously Alex Golesh's story, his life story, how he's gotten to this point speaks for itself. I also love that, he's just a few years removed from being a coordinator at Tennessee. So the SEC experience is more recent in this day and age of NIL and portal and how to develop in this new world. But I also point to something as small or as big, however you look at it, as his in-game operations. And it's something I tweeted about the other day because I have been on the sideline of more games than I can count at this point. Wow. I have watched so many head coaches operate on a sideline. I have literally done a report on a broadcast about Alex Golesh being the most active head coach in a game that I have ever seen. I am saying this man is involved in everything, and I am not exaggerating. This man is hopping in position group meetings nonstop. He's got stuff to show on an iPad. He's pulling his quarterback, giving little adjustments. He is out on the field, wherever the heck they are, for every single player injury. And I know a lot of coaches go out and check on the guy, but then they go back and they're doing whatever. He is out there until the player comes off the field. He is out there with the training staff, addressing the injuries, helping the player off the field. Then he comes over to me and gives me some of the most insightful interview answers that I get given. And they don't want to talk to me in between quarters. I know good and well they don't want to talk to me, but he is intentional. He is really evaluating what needs to happen, knows that what he presents in a brand, even as something as small as that, has ripple effects. Like he takes ownership of everything. He's got his hand in everything. There's also a really cool element. His high school offensive coordinator and principal, when he was in junior high and high school, has been with him in Tampa, and he's been their director of player development, but he is on the sideline next to Alex Golesh the entire time with the analytics book. So literally, he's even got a trusted guy that he's known since he was a kid, helping him make some of those big decisions about fourth down and whatever. He's involved in freaking everything. He never stops. And so I think that work ethic, that discipline, training daily is even embodied in how he goes about his operations in game. This guy lives out what he says. He didn't just come in with a bunch of target words. Same thing about like, we're going to have an explosive offense. We're going to run the ball. That really is what he does. It is the fastest offense I've ever covered. I mean, you can't get a word in between snaps because they're going so fast. He believes in developing quarterbacks and he knows how to do it. He's got the proof in that. So it is embodied in who Alex Golesh is as a human being and as a coach. I've seen it firsthand, and I only think it's going to be exacerbated at a program and a platform like Auburn's.
Taylor, he repeated something in a different way that we've heard Hugh Freeze say about player-led programs being the best programs, and talking about when it's coach-driven, you max out. This is a quote. When it's player-driven, we'll bring a national championship here to Auburn University. You need leaders in your locker room. Mm-hmm. He also said some other things I like about you can still outwork people in this life. One thing about this country is you can still outwork people. I love that because we say it all the time here at the War Rapport. You can have more resources than me. You can be on a bigger network. You can have more money. Yeah. But you're not going to outwork me ever. Right. So while you're sleeping, I'm up till 3 a.m. working you. Yeah. And so that's how we got here. That's how I have a platform for you to come on and talk to me. It was all those nights till 3 a.m, man, in the beginning, getting to a point where you become respected. Because if I learned anything in this life, people respect hard work. Right. He ended by saying the power of love, the power of commitment, the power of sacrifice resonates in every aspect of society. You just got to go outwork people and you love on people, and hopefully that's important. Now, again, I just want to close saying what I want badly for these young men is to have a mentor that they can look up to and that can teach them something that maybe has been missing.
Yeah.
And I like that he is the son of 2 immigrants that immigrated here looking for a better life, and you had to work harder to get it from that situation. And I'm saying that as the son of 2 immigrants who immigrated here. My dad immigrated in the 70s with my mom. They were both from South America. My dad joined the military, and he gave the Army 30 years of his life. And then he became a police officer for 10 years. And, they fought hard for my sister and I to attend Auburn and get an education and get the life that they couldn't even provide for themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So, everything I do is about honoring my dad's sacrifice to give us that opportunity. And I hope that Alex Golesh is that example for young men to say, hey, look, man, this guy paved the way for us to be able to have an opportunity that most people will never have, which now for athletes in the NIL era means gaining generational wealth as literally teenagers.
Yeah.
Like I can't stress enough what a privilege it is to be able to play for a program like Auburn under a guy like Alex Golesh. Well, you will not only get the mentorship, but you will also get the financial incentives to do so. I could not think of a better picture of the American dream in today's day and age than that. Taylor Davis, sideline reporter, ESPN. I want to thank you for joining me on today's show. I want to thank you guys for watching us today. But before we get out of here, YouTube has a feature that we want to tell you all about. YouTube now has a hype button just for the content you love the most. The War Rapport is delivering the coverage you count on daily, so smash that hype button to help the channel reach more college sports fans. It's a great way to support our work. Smash that hype button. Smash that hype button, guys. Taylor, before we get out of here, as always, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me on all social media platforms at Taylor Beth Davis. You can find my podcast with Auburn great Jason Campbell, who obviously has a great take on things, very involved in the program. We are SEC State of Mind, wherever you get your podcasts, and video format on YouTube. And I will be on the call for the MAC championship game this weekend. I'm very excited. We will be kicking noon Eastern live from Ford Field in Detroit, Miami of Ohio against Western Michigan for the conference title. Noon Eastern on ESPN.
Oh, I love that for you. Be careful up there in Detroit.
I will.
Guys, we're going to go on and get out of here. Hit the comment section after the video. Let us know what you think about Alex Golesh and his process-driven approach to Auburn football. Will it work? Will he be Auburn's last head football coach for a while? We want to hear from you. And while you're in the comment section, do us a favor, smash that super thanks button. Your financial support helps keep the work that we're doing here going. Please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Rapport on every social media platform. TW Rapport on TikTok. Signing off, and as always, Warrior.